The minute I stepped into a certain workplace, a man made his way towards me. It seemed as though he knew that I was there in a pastoral capacity. As we introduced ourselves, he stepped closer to me, actually crossing the boundaries of my comfort zone. His face was less than a hand width from my face, but I held my ground. In his own special way, he asked me his own personal favourite question. The question that he asked everyone when they first came onto his work site. What is love? Now, I cannot remember specifically how I responded, although he did tell me that it was an acceptable, although not quite complete, answer. It's a good question though. It's a good question for you and me today. Just recently I read about someone who had stopped to reflect upon love, what it is and where it comes from and why it was that they loved another person so very much. Indeed, my own parents-in-law met the Lord because they reasoned that love, being such a powerful force, had to come from somewhere. The Bible tells us in 1 John chapter 4 that God is love. Now let's think about that for a moment. If God is love, then does that mean that when he is absent, that there is no love? Well, yes. In saying that, while we are working through our time here on earth, God is present in the form of his Holy Spirit. He is what we call omnipresent, that he is everywhere at the same time. He is always here. He is Spirit. Now, whilst our finite or our limited minds may struggle to understand this on the one hand, on the other hand, we know in our hearts that there is more, there's much more, and that we are so very small when compared with the magnificence of creation. So God is love. Without him, there is no love. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 describes love in this well-known chapter, saying it like this: love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous, boastful, proud or rude. Love does not demand its own way. Love is always happy when the truth is told, and it never gives up. Love never loses faith. It's always hopeful and enduring. What about you? Have you ever felt as though you've let someone down? Someone whom you love? How did you feel? Or perhaps you would prefer not to answer that. If the other person truly loves you, then although they may not have liked the circumstances around what was happening, if it were real love, no doubt you're forgiven. An old friend used to say that he didn't like arguments, but when they occurred, he revelled in the forgiveness that followed. God is love, and he forgives all who confess or admit their sin and their failures. He is the God of new beginnings, new starts, new opportunities. Indeed, Jesus came to pay the penalty for our shortcomings, to take away the sin of the world. Just before he died on the cross, Jesus made an incredible statement. It is finished. This is love. His work was complete, and we, all who call upon the name of the Lord, will be saved. What is love? God is love. Now that's just not good news. That's great news. As you go into the week, remember that you are blessed to be a blessing and that you are loved to love.